community that we're not fully participating in that economy. Don't get me wrong. The Chamber has a long history of doing some great work in this city, and we continue to lead our Chamber industry, particularly in our diversity, equity, and inclusion work. But we knew we could do better. The most critical aspect of our transformation plan was the recruitment of diverse subject matter experts, developing a team that could pull off a transformation that we had undertaken. Let me be clear, we did not hire people of color just to diversify our team. We hired the best and brightest people that we could find. But what we did do was be very intentional about where we were looking, creating a culture that was inclusive, and one where we could attract a diverse team that represents the community that we work in. This past year, through a great partnership with Kent County that you'll be hearing about a little bit more later, we connected with thousands of small businesses. Those connections gave us a better understanding of their needs and how we might better serve them. Today is the first phase of serving our traditionally underserved community with the launch of our 3 councils for businesses owned by people of color and the creation of business liaisons on the Chamber team. Though we are 4 years into our transformation journey, we are still in the early phase. There is still much to do, much to learn, and much more to come. I want to thank all of those who have worked with us to create a thriving, prosperous West Michigan for all. Before I turn it over to our honorable board chair from Kent County, I invite you to join me in watching this short video.
Equitable economic impact does not happen by accident. We at the Grand Rapids Chamber understand that we need to have intentionality, representation, and a sense of belonging. Representation is key to having the right strategy to support our diverse communities. We offer equitable economic impact does not happen by accident. We at the Grand Rapids Chamber understand that we need to have intentionality, representation, and a sense of belonging. Representation is key to having the right strategy to support our diverse communities.
We offer 4 programs that can help your business attract and retain talent. We offer the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Assessment. We also offer implicit bias training, the Institute for Healing Racism, and we also offer culture and communication training. All of these things impact attraction and retention of talent, and also it is an ROI, a return on investment into doing this. So if you would like to learn more on how to engage with our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Services, we'd be more than happy to answer your questions and help.
En la Cámara de Comercio de Grand Rapids estamos comprometidos en ayudarlos a alcanzar sus metas empresariales. Buscaré proveerles capacitación, entrenamiento y recursos que los llevará al crecimiento. Soy Adira Garza Malón y soy parte de su equipo.
We work to engage voices from every sector of our diverse business community to create great policy, and you can play a role. As a member, you can help craft the policy priorities for the West Michigan business community. And for the price of a membership, you have lobbyists working on your behalf. We are here to get the answers you need to help your business grow.
So whether you want to be a community trustee and do Leadership Grand Rapids or our Emerging Leader program, whether you're looking to authentically connect and push women forward in our business ecosystem with Athena and Leading Edge, or if you're looking for some of our other talent programs that help you to individually grow as a leader, the Grand Rapids Chamber talent programs will not let you down. Because not only will you gain skill sets, but you'll gain lasting relationships that will not only enrich your lives, but our communities.
It's important for the Chamber to be invested in this work because we need to hear more voices from the Black community when it comes to our business perspectives. We all know that a more diverse and inclusive community is going to yield the best results for everybody to thrive.
Today, I am excited to announce that we are launching 3 councils: a Hispanic Latino Business Council, a Asian American Business Council, and a Black Business Council that will help guide the work of the Chamber and how we support, how we outreach, and how we create programming to positively impact these communities. So please join me as we create great in West Michigan.
Thank you, Rick and team. It is so wonderful to join you today. I'm so excited to hear about all the amazing work being done at the Chamber and your focus on what makes our community great, and that is diversity. Diversity is important. Diversity matters. Diverse businesses and organizations are more creative. They can tackle the problems and adversity, and they attract talent. A business or organization that makes DEI a priority will have a better chance of not only attracting that talent, but retaining talent. Their employees feel a sense of place, pride, and purpose. As the chair of the Kent County Board of Commissioners, we have recognized this importance of fostering a culture of inclusion. Not only was this reemphasized in the county strategic plan we passed last year, but proudly proclaimed in our recent countywide statement on racism, and one of only a couple in the state. Feel free to visit the link shared in the chat today. You will see what we are doing as a county government to ensure inclusion in the county. One of our proudest moments was partnering with the Grand Rapids Chamber last year to quickly administer over $33 million to assist small businesses struggling during this pandemic. Your chamber team pulled together an amazing program in a matter of days and ensured over 60% of those funds went to minority-owned businesses throughout our county. Collaboration matters, and collaboration to ensure diversity will continue to be one of the keys to success of our growing, thriving community and to our triumphant economic return in the months to come. Now I'll turn it over to Dante to share more. I kept forgetting to breathe.
Hello, I'm Dante Villarreal, Vice President for Business and Talent Development here at your Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. Equitable economic impact does not happen by accident. There are many pieces of the puzzle that need to come together in order for this to be successful. I want to thank Kent County and Chair Mandy Bolter for being in the driver's seat in putting together the pieces of the puzzle for the Kent County Small Business Recovery Program. I want to talk about those pieces. Representation does matter. This initiative was not only led by a team of minority business professionals and subject matter experts, but it was also led by a team of 28 staff members here at the Chamber that live, work, and play in our community and are representative of our communities of color. Intentionality does matter as well. Our program has to be intentional, our outreach, and it begins by having a global view of who we are serving and how we are connecting. Intentionality also happens when the outcomes are driving the activity. If there are no acceptable outcomes, equitable outcomes, then it did not really matter. The right partnerships matter. We need to have everyone rowing in the right directions for that common goal, and that is to serve those underrepresented community members. Everyone plays a role in equitable economic development. The private sector, the banks, chambers of commerce, educational institutions. The equity gap is so large that no one gets a pass in serving our communities of color. And it's not just about making a referral to another entity or having a staff person that maybe it's bilingual. It's about really investing in our communities of color and having the right people in the right seats. The Kent County Small Business Recovery Program allowed us to put all those pieces of the puzzle together to create equitable outcomes. And you will see on the screen what the impact has been. Over 4,000 businesses were awarded grants between $5,000 and $40,000, totaling $33.1 million in support. These businesses represented over 18,800 employees here in Kent County, or as we like to say, jobs retained. 47% of all recipients were people of color. These are our minority businesses. However, we recognize that in Kent County, 75% of the population is white Caucasian. This is a very significant achievement for this program. 30% of our recipients were also women-owned businesses. This does not happen by just one entity going at it alone. We had partners that helped us create these equitable outcomes. And I'd like to highlight a few. The Hispanic Center of West Michigan, the West Michigan Asian American Association, and our Grand Rapids Black Chamber of Commerce here in our city. Intentional outreach allows us to create the partnerships and the opportunities for our businesses to come into the fold and be here at the table where the opportunities and resources are. This was done by hosting a variety of programs out in our communities of color. We had virtual clinics because of the COVID pandemic. We had in-person clinics that allowed us to work one-on-one with our members throughout our community. We worked very close with our minority media partners, such as El Informador, Grand Rapids Times, and Viet Song Magazine, and many others. We received translation services from the West Michigan Asian American Association, as well as the Hispanic Center, all in an effort to not only create awareness and the opportunity to apply for this program, but also to understand the executive orders and how they were impacting small businesses. And this was work that had to be done very timely. And it is because of these partners that we were able to accomplish this. Intentional outreach is also about impact via activity that is authentic. We cannot go into our communities of color and just assume what we don't know. We have to be intentional in understanding and collaborating and working with those that we are serving. This work allowed us to take a look behind the scenes, a little peek through the curtains and really understand the state of our minority businesses in our greater Grand Rapids area. Although we do have minority businesses that up to par and as strong as any of the ones within their industry, and we have 3 here today that we're gonna highlight, the reality is that many are without resources. We found that minority businesses are not accessing all of the different programs, opportunities, and resources that are available. They feel they're alone. No one knocks on their doors and asks them, how are you doing? How can we help? Minority businesses in the Kent County Small Business Recovery Program struggled to be ready to apply for the loans and grants that were out there. And I want to share something really important here. Every time you heard of a economic stimulus package for small businesses, they were all timely. They were all focused on a certain date that they would open up and it'd be closing within a week after. A lot of our minority businesses were not ready to apply for these programs. The financials weren't there. The profit and loss, the balance sheet, the documentation that was needed to be successful in obtaining those funds. They require more one-on-one collaboration or support. And there is no way around this. We need to be intentional in making sure that we work with every business to get the success in applying for grants, applying for loans, and accessing the much needed capital. They are successful despite these challenges. However, we know that if we were able to connect them with resources and have them be connected to units of government, to elected officials, all those that are the decision makers in these resources, we know we would have a more vibrant minority business community. But nonetheless, they are leaders in their own right. They are job creators in their community, and they matter to the Grand Rapids Chamber. As mentioned earlier, today we launch our minority business councils and liaisons. It is my honor to introduce the three chairs of our newly formed Asian Business Council, Hispanic Business Council, and Black Business Council. These three successful business owners will lead our work in driving equitable economic impact in our communities of color. Our councils will do four things. They will help guide the work of the chamber as we serve our underrepresented communities in closing the equity gap. They will create peer-to-peer networks that strengthen individual businesses and foster a sense of belonging for all. They will create a framework that activates minority business owners as community trustees in the areas of economic development, advocacy, and leadership. And they will provide a voice for the minority business community they represent. It is my honor to introduce Florisa Ganades, founder and principal of Management Business Solutions. Ruben Ramos, managing partner, R&R Mechanical Services. James Bio, owner and president of MultiAutomatic Tool Supply. Welcome and thank you for being here with us today. We're excited of your new leadership role within the Chamber of Commerce. And I'd like to start off by having each of you share your entrepreneurial journey, how you got started, and where are you now? And we'll start with Florisa.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity. Florisa Ganades, founder, CEO of Management Business Solutions. My journey is, as everybody will be here sitting, it's been a hard one. It's not easy opening up your own business. My journey started when being fired from a large staffing company and then being sued thereafter. I just realized that in order for me to service my candidates and my clients the best abilities and the service deliverables I wanted, that I needed to create a firm that would really, encompass that ability to actually help those individuals. And so I started Management Business Solutions in 2006 because I just felt the need in a market space that would like to help minority individuals to find gainful employment in the community. And really that's been the cornerstone of a lot of the things that we do for MBS. And we started that in 2006. And since then, I guess we could say the rest is history.
Okay. Thank you. Such a amazing entrepreneurial journey. James.
Good afternoon. I'm James Bio, owner of MultiAutomatic Tool and Supply. We provide tooling primarily to the automotive and heavy equipment industry. But I grew up with the privilege of having working for my dad. He had a small business, so I could, to a certain degree, observe what it's like to be the owner of a small business. And so by the time I was 12 or 13 years old, I was sweeping and painting and things like that. And then after college, I began to work for him. I worked for him for about 6 years. And then in about 1996 or so, I shocked my family and friends and just went off on my own. And you could say it was brave, but it really was somewhat reckless. I started off with 2 customers. And after about 7 years, guess how many customers I had? 2. So I really had to grow. And so what I did was I had an acquisition. I made an acquisition of a company, a person that had just 2 employees. They came to work for me. I engrafted them within the company. This was in 2005. And we gained some more good customers. And then I did the same thing in 2010 with a competitor that was distressed. So acquisition has been my way of growth. And then in 2019, I kind of did what for me was a big one. I bought Belding Tool and Machine. So currently I have two businesses. I really wanted to make something. Always been a distributor, but I wanted to have a manufacturing company. So together we have 15 employees, and still are serving the automotive and heavy equipment industry.
Thank you. Again, another great story. Ruben.
Yes, I'm Ruben Ramos. I am a managing partner at R&R Mechanical Services. We're a full-service heating, ventilation, and cooling and refrigeration contractor here in Grand Rapids. And our story began with my twin brother, Rolando, had started the business officially in 2008, right in the neighborhood, Burton Heights area, right where we used to, where we grew up. And reckless it was, of course. He had started his business with an idea to service, at that point, the underserved the Hispanic population. And it was very, out of an 8-foot by 4-foot shed, in his backyard, driving a beat up van, and off he went. He started providing a service that was of great value, and so his name really became known in the community. I joined him in the ownership in 2010, and we strategized to look into the direction of commercial clientele, and our business has grown since exponentially, and as of today, we are 40 families strong. And 2 years ago, we relocated to our current location in the Cottage Grove and Madison area, where we are able to service our clients in the service, residential, and commercial aspects. And I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the great work that we have ahead of ourselves here at the council.
Muchas gracias, Ruben. Felicidades. Clarissa, how important is it for minority businesses to have access to the resources to help them grow their business along the way?
Well, we're so fortunate in Grand Rapids and West Michigan to have so many resources available for us, but there's certainly a lot of challenges for minority-owned businesses. As minority-owned business myself, there's always a challenge with, language barriers. There's a problem with, challenge when it comes to cultural differences, as well as, traditions, and access to capital for us is a lot different. As Dante had stated, a lot of the minority-owned businesses don't even have the ability to know how could you have your financial statements be prepared for you or have it readily accessible. So the resources that minority-owned firms here in Grand Rapids or businesses, the access to all these resources is just so much different than a traditional business. So I think having to have this council form that's more targeted for the Asian community, the Hispanic community, the Black community would really help us identify that right resources that we need to provide to all of these different businesses. And so it's very intentional. I'm so glad that the Chamber has really focused upon just narrowing it down. What do we need for each of this segment? Because it is the resources is available in there, and we're fortunate to have it there. But that little nuance of that challenge, we just need to take a look at how do we actually give those resources to all this underrepresented communities of business of color to be able to really be intentional to get this. And so I'm so glad for this council to be able to be more intentional in finding those resources.
Absolutely, Clarissa. Thank you. The data shows us that the majority of the businesses in existence today of minority businesses are first generation businesses. So what does that mean? That means that as first generation businesses, they don't have the historical knowledge or understanding or connections to fully engage in their economic and local economic environment. So yes, very critical for us to make those connections. Thank you, Clarissa. Ruben, the failure rate in minority businesses is higher than non-minority businesses. I believe for many of the resources or many of the reasons we stated prior. How does having a peer-to-peer network of support strengthen businesses like yours?
I believe that having a sounding board, having a group of peers who share the same set of goals, failures, stories of success and failure, is probably one of the most powerful things that entrepreneurs can do, where you're able to share and discuss whether it be issues, again, wins or losses related to the many hats that we wear as business owners, whether it be human resources, talent attraction and retention, whether it be creating policies and procedures. How many times have we heard it's alone at the top, right? And I believe that when one is alone leading a business, tremendous opportunities can be lost because we don't have that group of, again, a sounding board. There's so many things that we as business leaders cannot discuss with our internal teams, right? So I believe that is powerful. Peer-to-peer group where ideas can be shared back and forth is one of the most important things that we can do.
It is definitely lonely at the top, and we're excited to have these peer-to-peer networks to build that camaraderie and that resource that really only business owners and other business owners can have and connect on. James, oftentimes we have strong business leaders within our communities of color that simply do not have access to the opportunities to lead, for example, on boards, community boards, a nonprofit organization, for-profit entities, city councils, etc. How important is it for us to create great leaders in our communities of color?
Well, obviously very important. And if you think of the demographics of West Michigan and the Grand Rapids area, you have areas where monies are being spent, where investment is being spent, and areas that are not. You have areas where businesses are building and they're growing and expanding, and other areas where they're not. And even with schools, you have those schools that are excelling in terms of college placement with their graduates, and others that are not. And I believe a lot of that is due to policy, and the policies created by our councils, our city councils, and school boards, and Kent County commissions and things like that. So it's to have some representation is extremely important, because if you notice, I see that a lot of the policies we have now were created 2 or 3 generations ago, where there wasn't any representation. So yes, it's very important. And if you look at various levels, this is just, from my point of view as a business owner, but you've got trade organizations that are industry specific. And like you had mentioned, the peer-to-peer groups that you were talking about, Ruben, the CEO roundtable groups. And then, as we know, you've got boards of directors where you're working on strategy for an organization. And I still see the top echelon of those being the city councils and school boards. But it's not easy. Maybe it is for some to just walk onto those. I'll give you an example. I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce here on the board, and I'm very happy to be part of this great organization. But I wouldn't have been if I wasn't invited. And I was invited because I was on a CEO roundtable group with somebody who was part of it. So it made a big difference to me. And as you had mentioned, getting through the pandemic, to be part of this organization and be given a mentor to help navigate through some of the PPP issues and things like that was just a great benefit. So that's just how I can compare my own story with involvement. But for sure, as you were saying, it's to create great leaders is important. And oftentimes people have to be pulled in and to be invited.
Intentionality, without a doubt. And that's why we feel that these councils will be vital as they create a framework that attracts minority business owners as community trustees in economic development, advocacy, and leadership. So one of the data points that has always been very interesting to me was job creation happens at the second stage of business level, and all three of you are considered second stage businesses, at least $1 million in sales on up, around 10 employees on up. So that's where true job creation happens. About 90% of the job creation happens at that level. And the data also shows that minority businesses hire more minorities. That's a fact. So if we put those two data points together, we can ascertain that job creation in our communities of color will happen if we have stronger second stage minority businesses. In 2017, the Chamber began the Elevate Minority Business Program that was intentional in creating more second stage minority businesses. But in our review, in our study of the greater Grand Rapids area, we only found a little over 30 second stage minority businesses. And that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that we are not growing our minority businesses at the rate that other communities throughout the country have. We understand this, and that's why it's urgent. It's urgently needed for us to continue to push the needle and to move our communities along. Representation does matter, and here at the Chamber, we recognize how vital it is for our leadership to be representative of our community. To the panel, please share any closing thoughts on the work ahead of us as we increase positive economic impact in our underrepresented communities of color. And we'll start with Ruben, James, and then with Larissa.
Thank you, Dante. Well, to that, I'm going to say I think we need to speak up. Is first and most is we need to identify that there are issues such as what is being said today. I think here at the Chamber, you guys are doing a great job at that and laying out the framework. I think that alone is important, and it's important for those people who are out there that feel that may not be well represented or may have a need to speak up, to come out and say, hey, I need assistance, right? How can I get some assistance, whether it be, coming into the Chamber or joining other opportunities there may be. I think when you come out and you say, hey, here I am, raise your hand, and I think that's where it starts.
Thank you, Ruben. Definitely being able to have everyone feel comfortable to say, I'm here and I'm ready to start and grow my business. Thank you, Ruben. James.
Yeah, similar to what you're saying, Ruben. People want to hear from you. That's my message to other business owners. Business owners want to hear from you. The community wants to hear from you. I find that it's sort of like the 80-20 rule, where 20% of the community business leaders and business owners are wired to get involved. They've got the confidence to speak up on thoughts that they have, and 80%, it seems like it might even be higher. This is just me. Business owners will go to work and go home, and that's their routine. Maybe at a Thursday night golf league or something like that, and that's it. So to be vocal is important, and one of the examples you gave as well was on HR issues, and that's another story. Having been part of a CEO roundtable group, business owners they know their products, they know their services, they know finance, but typically, if you've got a small company, managing employees is so hard. And if you can get together in a confidential setting with others that have made decisions, it is a blessing beyond what you can even understand. It is so much helpful to get advice from other business owners. So what you have to share is very important, and that's what I would encourage.
Thank you, James. Florisa.
So I always have told my team, if you never ask the question or you never raise your hand, the answer is always no. So don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask, But lastly, I always wanted to, just my thoughts will be is don't be afraid to fail, because we all failed at some way or form. And this council will be great for us to really take a look at, grab all those failures that we have, share those experiences. That would make us a stronger, better community, especially of, this minority businesses. To really elevate our growth to that next step, we should really, find that determination, that intentionality, and not be afraid to say, to raise our hand and to ask those questions. And I really just don't be afraid to fail, because we will fail, but the business will keep on growing, and we will continue to grow.
Thank you, Florisa. Very important message. I want to thank each and every one of you for your leadership, for your entrepreneurial spirit, and for your commitment to make a change and impact the communities that you serve. You are community trustees, and we're very fortunate to have you lead our minority business councils. I want to acknowledge the passion that you have, the skill set, the connections, your social capital, everything that you bring to the table, because that allows us to have intentionality and allows us to create the impact that we so need in our community. So thank you to all three of you. I also want to share the business liaison announcement with all of you today. We're now, and as you'll see on your screen, we have 2 designated staff persons here at the Chamber that will work with our communities of color and be outreaching and connecting with minority businesses throughout the greater Grand Rapids area. It's a pleasure to introduce Yadira Garza Malone, Member Engagement Manager, who is bilingual, bicultural, and ready to support all of our minority businesses, as well as Nate Phillips, Member Engagement Manager. As you can see on their screen, they are ready to connect and support all of the businesses here in West Michigan. With that, I want to conclude by again thanking all of you and thanking again our chairs for our Asian Business Council, Hispanic Business Council, and Black Business Council. We're excited of the work ahead of us. This is the beginning of a very intentional journey, and we invite all of you to also join us as we continue to create great with all of our communities. Thank you.